Item 8, permanent local housing allocation, Sutter County funding, presented by Mr. Moody, our Development Services Director.
All right, so good evening. The item before you is in regards to amending the city's fiscal year budget to receive our PLHA allocation, which is part of a 5-year state allocation program for permanent local housing. And then also to look at potentially funding requests from Sutter County for the 2nd Street overnight camping location and for help with the Better Way shelter budget. And so as I get into this a little bit of the background, a little over a year ago, staff came before the city council to discuss a new funding source, permanent PLHA, permanent local housing allocation, which was initially set up as a 5-year program. It may continue after that, but with that, the state set up, it's a fee with recording documents where there's an amount captured, and through that, the city's going to receive $311,000, which has to be used for pre-development, development, acquisition, rehabilitation, preservation of affordable housing, and or supportive services and programs. And so we came before the council, and there was a discussion, and we basically suggested, or we committed to the state that we're going to fund it at 50% each for those services, and it could be changed over the years. And so right now, we're looking to receive that $311,000, put it in the city's coffers, and then set up an account number so then we could then spend it, because there's some restrictions on how the timeliness of when the money needs to be spent. And so with that, what we're looking at, Sutter County has had a request into the city to help partner with the 2nd Street overnight camping site, and then also help fund their Better Way shelter. And so the 2nd Street overnight camping site, for those that are not familiar with it, it's I'll get into the pictures and the specifics on it, but it's a site where those experiencing homelessness can stay the night. And then with the Better Way shelter, it's a temporary homeless shelter that provides temporary housing and case management services. And so specifically regarding the 2nd Street overnight camping site, the county put it together, and it was really a tool in our tool chest for when we put together a new municipal code about no camping on public property, that it's a location where the homeless could then use to camp. And so that way it's an enforcement mechanism that when the police department is moving people along that shouldn't be camping in places on private property or areas that are not safe or on the roadway, that this is an option for them. And so the county, the cost to construct this was approximately $80,000 with ongoing costs. And so the county has asked for a partnership in the construction costs for a one-time allocation of $40,000. Here's a picture from their website. It's for those at the end of 2nd Street. On the west side of 2nd Street across from the levee. It's really just an open area that's secure, that has security, that has garbage and bathroom facilities, and some rules regarding how it's when you're checked in and when you're checked out. The Better Way shelter. The city has funded it two years in a row with CDBG funds, and with CDBG funds there's been there's restrictions in there that's always complicated. You have to apply for the funding annually, and then there's caps on the CDBG funds as far as for public services. And so with this last year, the city was unable to fund them through the CDBG program because of the cap on the public service with priorities for the homeless liaison officer. And so with this, we're looking with the PLHA money as a potential option to fund that, and then not having to come back every year and go through this allocation process. And so what staff is proposing is a 3-year, looking at a 3-year commitment with ongoing budget approval. So every year will have to be approved through the budget cycle, but basically allocating $45,000 for that ongoing expense for 3 years. And my understanding is that the budget to Sutter County is approximately $750,000 a year to operate. And so it's located off of Live Oak Boulevard, to the northeast side there where the arrow's pointing. And there's some temporary homes and Hands of Hope and the county's offices. There's case management services where they then move them. They're looking to move them into permanent housing, such as a Harmony Village or other housing that they could afford. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And we're looking to authorize the finance director to amend the budget to receive the $311,140 and then adopt a resolution making a finding that a 3-year contribution of $45,000 to Sutter County Better Way will provide a public benefit and authorize directing the city manager to effectuate an annual contribution of $45,000 to Sutter County Better Way for a 3-year term and a one-time $40,000 contribution to Sutter County for the construction of the 2nd Street overnight camping, subject to approval of the annual city budget providing for the same.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Questions from the council?
Through the mayor, what I'm curious, because I know Imelda's on Teams, right? I saw her earlier there, Imelda. I saw you have your camera on. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi.
Awesome. Hi. Hey, I was curious to know because, I mean, I know some of these numbers, but I don't think the public in general tend to know a lot of these things, that all the tremendous work under pretty much a lot of the work that you manage and lead there for the county. Since Better Way's been open, do you have a totality of how many folks have been in that program and how many have been housed? You know, because the time frame of that program is pretty short just compared to a lot of other projects that we work with, like the Salvation Army or others, you know? So do you mind bringing this, you know, if you have that around or on the top of your head?
Yeah. So since Better Way opened on September, and I'm sorry, Imelda Mendoza Flores with Sutter County Health and Human Services, Public Health. So since Better Way opened on September 19th, 2019, we've provided services to 215 individuals, and we have permanently housed 85, I believe, is up to just from Better Way. So these are individuals that have been sustainably housed. So they may receive a little bit of financial assistance for moving costs, for deposits, things like that. However, the goal is to, once they are moved into what we call permanently sustainable housing, is that they do not return back to homelessness. So we have a great track record on housing these individuals. Many do connect, as it was mentioned, many are housed over at, some have been housed over at Harmony Village. The vast majority have been housed throughout the region. This is client driven, so they choose where they want to move to, and the vast majority want to stay local because this is where they are from. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. So then, do you work with the other project on 2nd Street overnight camping site? Is that connected to your department as well?
It is connected to the county. In terms of services, unfortunately, we do not provide direct on-site case management services. Our HEART team, which is the Homeless Engagement and Resolution team, which is the bi-county outreach team, they do go out and engage with those individuals that do take advantage of that camping 2nd Street campsite. Mm-hmm. We do have the security guard, which they'll reach out to me if a family with young children happen to come on site and request to spend the night there. They enter the campsite, or single individuals, that does come my way, and I immediately connect them with the appropriate resources. So if it's a family with young children, we definitely don't want homeless families anywhere in Sutter County. And so we immediately connect them to the CalWorks housing support program through the county. If it's a single individual, we connect them immediately to a shelter. Most often they are very vulnerable, and so they score very high on the vulnerability index assessment that is done through coordinated entry. So they typically are moved into Better Way fairly quickly.
Right. So one of the things that has been challenging, well, for society in general, but let's just focus with the homeless population here in our community. It's been really tough in 2020 to go out and do the outreach that initially started, I think, in 2019. Right, there was a lot of plans set in play, but they weren't enacted because of 2020 of the pandemic, and at this point, I think we're starting to get some traction on those again, right, with the Heart Team and all these other that are actually going out to different areas in community instead of where I think the design of services in the last year, 2020, were people coming into these coordinated entry locations, which we have two, and one in Yuba City and one in Marysville, both managed by Hands of Hope. Do you want to talk a little bit about that challenge as an agency that provides these services? Because I think that kind of contributes to some of the numbers of homelessness that is seemingly increasing, which is that we're working hard on that, but it's not noticeable right away.
Before we get into that, is this something that we should have her come and present to us? It doesn't seem to necessarily correlate with item 8, and it seems like she's got a lot of good information to share with us about a lot of different programs.
Yeah, I think it would be great that she come in and do a presentation, but it actually ties right into the Better Way because it's part of the Heart Team is to try to get these.
This is a funding request.
Right,
and-
it is a funding request, but I think the community doesn't necessarily always know.
And I would like to give her the credit of coming in and actually making the presentation and showing us everything that's going on through her office rather than, deal with it in this fashion. I think it would be more appropriate and respectful to have her here in person.
I would certainly support that. I just would like the answer of, has it been challenging in 2020 to go out and do the outreach work?
Yes. Yes. It's challenging, and we've seen great success. It's challenging in the sense that we are wanting to make sure that we are connecting individuals to the appropriate shelter program, supporting the community, but also keeping staff safe from COVID, of course. And so within all of those barriers, we have successfully built the homeless engagement and resolution team. They've been actively working together very closely with law enforcement on the Yuba City side, the county side, on both sides of the river, and very effectively. So lots of communication has been happening with your homeless liaison. So they've been more active more now in this latter part of 2021, but yes, 2020, it was just very challenging to be able to be out in the community while keeping staff safe.
Thanks, Imelda. I really appreciate that input. Well, I guess we'll have you back sometime.
Yeah, Mr. City Manager, I think it would be great to have Imelda come and present to us about it sounds like she's got a lot of things going on under her supervision that we would probably benefit from knowing more about in a lot more depth. If that's okay with you, Imelda.
Of course.
Done.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? Public? Online?
No public comment.
All right. I will entertain action from the council on item 8.
Okay, through the chair, I move that for saving some oxygen breath here, motion A and B on the agenda item 8.
Second.
All right, have a motion by Councilperson Espandola second by the vice mayor on item 8. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, item 8 passes unanimously.